This isn't just any map of India. It's really a blueprint for a green energy revolution and kind of like a report card on how it's all going. Today, we're digging into what it tells us about India's huge plan to turn waste into wealth. So this map comes from a pretty recent report, and it's our guide to India's big push for something called compressed biogas, or CBG. You see all these numbers scattered across the states? What do they actually mean? Well, each one is a piece of a much larger puzzle. So let's start putting it all together. So what's the real story here? I mean, at first glance, it's just a map with some data points. But if you look a little closer, it reveals this massive gap between ambition and reality. A plan for a greener future that's, well, it's still very much a work in progress. To really get what's happening, we need to look at the numbers for the whole country. And here, we find a tale of two very, very different totals. But hang on, before we jump into those numbers, what exactly is this CBG stuff? Basically, it's a renewable fuel. It's made from organic waste. Things like leftover crops, cattle dung, even sugarcane waste. And you can use it to power cars or generate electricity. It's a huge part of this whole waste-to-wealth idea. All right, here's the ambition. 655. That's the total number of CBG plants that are either planned or being built right now across the entire country. That is a massive figure that shows you just the sheer scale of India's vision here. And then there's the reality on the ground today. 108. This is how many plants are actually up and running producing gas as of August 2024. Now, it's a solid start for sure, but it definitely puts that much bigger ambition into perspective. And this chart just lays it all out visually, doesn't it? On one side, you have this towering ambition of 655 projects in the pipeline. And right next to it, the progress so far. The story of India's CBG journey really unfolds in this space between these two bars. So, this is a national story, but the progress, it's not the same everywhere. Where are the real hotspots of activity? Let's zoom back into that map and find the leaders. Uttar Pradesh really stands out as the giant in this whole plan. It has a staggering 126 plants in the pipeline. That's the biggest ambition in the country by far. Right now, 15 are up and running, which is a strong start, but it also shows you the immense construction job that's still ahead. Now, looking at the top contenders for future production, you can see a clear top three. After Uttar Pradesh, you've got Maharashtra planning an even 100 plants, and Punjab has a really ambitious 77. Just these three states alone make up a huge chunk of the national blueprint. But here's where it gets interesting. When we switch from looking at plans to who's actually producing gas right now, the leaderboard changes. Gujarat is currently leading the pack with 17 functional plants. Uttar Pradesh is right behind at 15, and Haryana comes in third with 10 plants already online. It just goes to show that some states with smaller plans are actually ahead on execution. And this brings us right to the heart of the story, that gap between the blueprint and the actual biogas. Let's take a look at what this ambition-reality gap means on the ground. Let's just use Punjab as a perfect example. It has these huge plans, 77 projects in total, but as of today, only 8 of those are actually running. Now, this isn't a knock on them, but it's a perfect illustration of the journey from planning to production that the entire country is on. And if we pull back out to the national level, the numbers are pretty stark. That smaller slice there, that's the 108 plants currently in operation. That means over 80% of India's planned CBG projects are still in the future, either being planned or under construction. And for several states, this journey has barely even started. If you look at the map, places like Bihar with 23 plants planned, or Assam with 4 and Jharkhand with 6, they all have 0 operational plants right now. The ambition is there on paper, but the work hasn't started yet. So after looking at the map, the numbers, and the regional leaders, what's the big picture here? What's the takeaway for India's green energy future? Okay, let's break it down. First, the ambition is just enormous. There is a clear grand vision here for turning waste into a valuable energy source. Second, this whole revolution is in its very early stages. The foundation is being laid, but the building is far from finished. And finally, a handful of states are really pioneering this effort, and their progress is probably going to pave the way for the rest of the country. And that leaves us with this one big final thought. The blueprint we've looked at today is impressive, no doubt. It's a clear statement of intent. But the real test, the true test, is going to be converting these hundreds of plans into working plants and turning a vision on a map into real sustainable power for the people. Thanks for watching.